So, what's happening now?
You introduce me,
Okay.
then I heard that.
Do I have to introduce him? Do you know why you are here? I think so, you know. I don't have to introduce him. Paulo, I met for the first time when his publisher, his Swiss publisher Diogenes, had a party for him. It was 100 million books you sold at that time.
2008.
At 2008. Now it's 2014, and he's back in Frankfurt. It's about 165 million books now, which is incredible. I don't know how many languages it's translated, your work. I don't know how many films.
I think 80, no? 80.
So he's one of the most famous authors in the world. So, Paulo, I welcome you back in Frankfurt. Let's talk.
It's my book, by the way.
First of all, thank you very much, Juergen, for your invitation. I'd like to thank also my local publishers, my German-speaking publisher, Diogenes, and above all, I would like to thank the booksellers and the readers who are responsible for the success of these books. He has a list of 322 questions. I'll try to answer 20 or 30 to make the things alive. But as a guest, I have some privileges, right?
You want to ask me? No.
Yes. So the first question goes to you, Juergen. You are the big boss of this book fair for this past 10 years. My question is what are the three major changes you saw during these 10 years?
Would you trust me if I didn't see any changes?
Really? I would trust you.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of discussions. I've seen discussions come and go. I've seen so many people being afraid of electronic books. I've seen so many people, but maybe 30 years ago, being afraid of fax machines. I've seen our industry likes to be scared of the future. But actually, we don't have to be scared of this future, because what's the backbone of what we are doing here? It's storytelling. And storytelling means you have to see the people behind the book, behind the story. So which brings us back to the author. And that's why I wanted you to be here. I wanted the author, not just his books.
Okay, so you're going to start your list of questions, or we skip?
Are you interested in 320 questions? We tried to build it up a little bit, yeah? So I had asked Paulo. The topic is, how does publishing, how do books look like in maybe 20 years?
Yeah.
You asked me, look 10 years back, and I said nothing changed. So maybe in 20 years nothing has changed as well. But how would you look? How are you going to look like? What are you going to wear in 20 years?
Okay, I'll try to be as concise as I can. Sorry. Better for you, right? I'll try to be as concise as I can. I think there are two major reasons why people read books. And this did not change for this past, well, since books were created. The first major reason is entertainment, and the second major reason is knowledge. So people, they want either to be entertained or to learn something. Sometimes you can put the two things together. And then, what I see today is a fight between information and entertainment. So what I do believe that in 20 years from now is very complicated because I'm not a prophet. But I believe that we still are going to have books, of course. But you mentioned we are having a discussion before we are here. But very quick, we did not combine the questions and answers, so it was only... And then Juergen mentioned that this book fair was created by Gutenberg back to the 17th century.
Oh, earlier, 1460.
My God. So this was the first important technological revolution. And I can understand, even see, or that probably at the door, it was in a plaza, right? It was on the square. Probably people would be there manifesting against the printed book. Because, not people, but the monks from all these monasteries here, they would go there and say, this is not literature. Literature is something serious that to create a book would take 2 years. You are popularizing, you are making literature available to everybody. And the monks, of course, lost the battle, but probably for 100 years, I'm speculating a little bit, but probably for 100 years they said, you see, this thing they print with leather, it is better. They did not have this politically correctness, so they did not care about leather and antimony, but they thought we are through a major change. Manifestation, result, zero. We have books now. Then, if you go to the Industrial Revolution, you see textiles. No? The people who used to work on textile going out and protesting against this machine that used to make, well, I don't know, meters and meters of fabrics in 1 hour. They were going to lose their jobs. But again, the only who did not manifest against the situation were the horses. They were very happy because they have steam, so they did not need to carry the thing. But the workers, the labor force, was totally against this. And finally, now we have a major revolution. This major revolution is provoking a wave of protests. But it is a lost case. Like it was lost for the monks, like it was lost for the workers that used to make clothes. And here we are, in the middle of this turmoil, facing this change. What's going to happen? I have a few ideas, but please.
Paulo, you're saying the war is lost. Why do you think so? What has changed?
I'm not saying that the war is lost. I need that we human beings were sitting here because of our capacity of adapting ourselves. What I see today, it is, I'm talking about books now. Huh? First, it is the opposite. Culture is available all over the world, right? So it is exactly the opposite. The war is won. People can read. I can put my book in an online a bookseller, and then someone in Africa can read it in Portuguese, or in Spanish, or in English. They don't have...
Paulo, can this person in Africa afford your book?
No, not the person in Africa. No, she cannot. She cannot, but a Brazilian who is now living in Africa for some reason, I don't know, and he has nothing to read. He has an electronic device. So he's going to download a book in Portuguese or in French or in Italian, whatever. This is what I mean. I think this war is won as far as writers are concerned. Then we go to the second part of this question. And what about the status quo? You know, what about you see here? Booksellers, publishers, editors, what is going to happen to this? And you want to hear my answer on this, no?
I want to hear your answer.
Bad boy.
Are you going to shock us?
No. I think, Juergen, there are a few issues that I would like to discuss openly here. The first one is pricing. I was in the music business before being in the book business. And I saw the golden age of music business. I saw the golden age of music business, and everybody was trying to stop the time. They lost. So the first option, it was, okay, let's create a system that was called Napster. I don't know if you're familiar with Napster. And Napster is AKA piracy. Then people started downloading, and someone said, oh, but if, and it was Apple, if we offer a music for 99 cents, people can afford. People are going to buy. Because there is this thing that the system believes that all pirates are not honest. They are not dishonest. They have a problem of accessing culture. I'm not here either to defend piracy, please. I'm just... So if you go to pricing, if you change the system of pricing a book, this is one of the solutions.
Are you sure? A lot of people do live off your books, whether it's the translator, the bookbinder, the printer, the publisher, the editor. Who else is in this process? The illustrator. A lot of people rely on you.
Right. So there's a lot of people, they normally have one buyer for let's say 20 euros, one book. And we go to pricing. How much is it?
I have to find my glasses.
Yeah, and I have to find my paper.
Who's first? I don't even know whether the price is on there, so we shouldn't.
But anyway, so we have a very practical experience, not out of theories. So I put one book, because I have the digital rights for all my books, except in US. I mean in English. So we put the price of the book in $0.99 for 2 weeks. Comparing with the normal price, I sold, let's say, 10 times more. So it was the equivalent of, let's say, I could sell 10 books for the normal price, but I sold 1,000 with the price of $0.99. So at the end of the day, the profit was much more significant. than the price of print of the physical copy.
But this only can happen in the digital world.
Yes, but whether you like it or not, we're walking fast to the digital world. The book business is not going to disappear. Frankfurt was here when Gutenberg started, and it will be here in 600 years from now. And eventually, Juergen Boss will be also the president.
He's still sitting here. Sometimes I feel like being 650 years. Can be right.
But did opera die? No, but we have opera houses. It's not as we used to see opera 200 years ago. Did music die? Orchestras die when we created the record device? No, but we still have orchestras. We still have, well, nothing died. Nothing is dead, but we have to adapt ourselves. The problem is this: we don't adapt ourselves. Understand that if you don't adapt, we die. We die. We die. So it's not a question it is a movement that there is no way back. No way back. No way back.
But Paulo, you're Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you.
Yeah.
You're a brand. You're the Rolling Stones.
Beatles.
Beatles? You prefer Beatles? Maybe you're Mick Jagger. If you would have to start all over, you left the music industry, you left your country actually, you started publishing, you started writing. If you would write your first novel now, and you would publish it digital, what would happen? Would people find it?
It would be much more difficult. No question about it. Huh? It would be much more difficult because today everybody has a voice. From the moment that everybody has a voice, there is a lot of noise. From the moment there is a lot of noise, nobody's listening to anybody. You know? But at least you have the sensation that you can express yourself. And disease. A German said that.
But Paulo, you're saying you express yourself, but nobody can listen because there's so much noise.
Well,
doesn't this feel you uncomfortable?
First, you don't know if people are listening to you or not. Of course, you can guess, but okay, now I have my book, here my digital book, or my blog, or whatever, and yes, I have 3 visitors, but eventually I'm going to have 3,000 or 3 million visitors. And even if I don't have, because, Juergen, I did not start writing in Brazil because I want to make money. I start writing because I want to express myself. This is the reason that why people start writing. I want to show who I am. I want you to hear my voice, whether it is 5 people, 10 people, or 165 million people that soon will become 175 million, thanks to adultery. I was very happy at the very beginning because I could express my soul. I could express myself. I was writing. And I was fighting against this totally rotten system that at the very beginning I said, the people read because they want to be entertained and they want knowledge. So information is everything. So you see today, cookbooks. You read, and the way that you read a cookbook, you get an information that will be very important for you. So we still sell cookbooks. So, but there is this so-called intelligentsia, that it is a totally rotten system that exists because they are thinking that the great heroes are people who are writing in the 19th century. So I'm still waiting for the bad reviews of adultery. I know that I'm going to have plenty of bad reviews. Germany is a place where, and my joy is that I don't understand German, so they can write whatever they want. I cannot understand. I only can see the bestseller list. So it is totally true. So at the end of the day, this system is over. In French, they have a very good expression. It's called renvoyer l'ascenseur. So you write a book, nobody understands, and then, but you're a friend of a critic. The critic is going to talk about you, and then when you publish, when the critic publishes a book, you're going to be the reviewer of the critic. So there is this niche of people who thinks that knowledge is power in the bad sense. Knowledge is power in the good sense. But then you have to face, everybody has to face this, but we cannot stop the wheel of time. We can't, Juergen. We can't.
But I couldn't stop you from storytelling. You will never stop writing, don't you? Because you said when you started, you really liked to do it. Do you still like to do it, or does it work?
Can I stand up? I don't feel very comfortable.
No, please stand up.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what is good about being famous. You can do whatever you want. You will not dare to say, no, you have to see it and behave yourself and not talk about that there is no way back. You should encourage. So, but Juergen is a visionary. So he's a person who can see and can adapt himself. I really don't buy the story that the book fair did not change. I saw a lot of changes, and I probably also saw a lot of changes. So storytelling is something that happens since the dawn of times. Huh? Storytelling is our way to tell other people heritage. So if you go to the Mahabharata, to the great epopeas, if you go to the classics, at the end of the day, they were telling stories. And if the stories were good, we could follow them. And then you go to, you mentioned, you only have 4 stories to tell. I tell you.
I thought it's only 1 story.
No, you have 4.
Okay.
You can tell a story about a couple, 2 people, a love story. Yeah. Then you can tell a story about 3 people, a triangle, adultery. Then there is the 3rd story that it is the struggle for power. And then there is the 4th story that it is a voyage, a trip, an odyssey.
A development.
Yeah, someone who leaves this place and goes to that place. Huh? So you see classics like Odyssey, you see like, I don't know, Don Quixote or whatever. So if we are telling the same stories over and over again, what are we doing? We're adapting ourselves to new ways of telling stories. And we cannot go back to the 19th century. At the end of the 19th century, probably there were people, critics and authors. Huh?
Every critic wants to be an author, don't they?
Yeah, more or less. But anyway, and they probably praised a lot of writers that you don't know, that we don't see the photos here. But there are two classics. One is one book and one is an author. They were hated by critics. The book is Dracula by Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker he had a theater, and so he wrote this book, and up to today we still have Dracula. It became an icon, the myth of the vampire, even if the myth of the vampire goes back to the beginning of storytelling. And the second was Oscar Wilde, who was very provocative, right? Who died in Paris, but he was such a good teller that he is here until today. So what you see today is the incapacity of adaptation from what we call the system. You have 200 questions.
I'm still not even started with my questions, so obviously we have to skip dinner tonight. But actually, you've been telling us there are 4 different types of story. I always thought that's just one story, the story of the author. How much of the author, how much of Paulo is in your books?
Oh, 100%. But who is Paulo? Who am I? This is the most dangerous question. This is the moment that Oedipus...
Nobody can answer this question.
Nobody can.
No, it would be scary. I don't want to know.
No, yeah. I can throw the icing and find out. The icing, but I cannot answer myself. So, but this is the question that Oedipus, this Sphinx asked to Oedipus, and that Moses asks God. And that Arjuna asks Krishna. So, in this tree, let's forget Oedipus because you know the tree, but let's go back to Moses. And he says, who are you? Because, of course, you want to know to whom you are talking to. And God answers, not with a subject, not with a predicate, he answers with a verb. He says, I am. Arjuna goes to Krishna during this civil war in India, and in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna, who are you? And Krishna starts teasing Arjuna, say, okay, I am the water in the glass, I am the letter in the paper, but you will never know, you're never going to know who I am. So, I don't ask this question to myself. I am what I am right now. I don't know what I will be from the moment that I leave the book fair. So, yes, am I in my books? The answer is yes. But I'm there as a part of myself. So I am the crazy person in the asylum and Veronica decides to die. I am the shepherd boy in The Alchemist. I'm not the alchemist, but I am the shepherd boy. I am the person who lives in Geneva and tries to understand the city. So I'm a little bit of everybody, but a book is an aspect, a facet of an author.
So I have the feeling you're a sort of a kaleidoscope, yeah? When you turn it around, there's different facets, actually. We became somehow quite philosophical, actually. I wanted to talk about the book industry. What's going to happen to us, the publishers, the booksellers, from your perspective? But maybe one has to become philosophical when I'm talking to you.
I said at the very beginning, either you adapt yourself or you die.
So I already adapted myself to you?
No, I mean the book business. You have to change pricing. I made a list of things. Eventually, the big structures will collapse. This is, we are seeing. We can try to stop time. I was talking to my editor, my publisher, that I hope he's here. Where are you, Marcos? Raise your hand. You'll see, not even my publisher. Okay. So I was talking about this, about the capacity that we need to have to see new, not to see that we're threatened by these monsters called digital world. No, let's adapt ourselves to them. And this is the only way out, the only way out. And what do you think? You know, Juergen, don't tease us, because you are here, you talk to all publishers in the world, you have to have an answer to this.
You told me I'm a visionary, so I know the answers to all of this in this industry. Now, the thing is, I started 35 years ago in publishing. 35 years, it's a generation, maybe even 2 generations. And there were no mobile phones, there was no fax, there was no copy machine at that time. And I've seen all of these things come and go, yeah? And I'm really fed up with the discussion of being challenged by something. My answer is, yeah, there's going to be storytelling. It can be told electronically. It can be told on paper. It can be a movie. It can be a song. There's an industry living out of it. There are a lot of people. But all what these people do, they live out of the story you're telling. Yeah? The reader lives out of your story. He's reflecting his own image again by reading your story. And this is never going to go away. And I'm sure all of us in this industry will make a living somehow, but maybe it's completely different. And seeing what's going to happen in 20 years, we talked about it. How are we going to dress ourselves in 20 years? And one of our colleagues said, oh, we're going to have a 3D printer, and we print a new dress every day. Then somebody said, no, this is not ecological. Actually, so this is not going to happen. We can't foresee it. Yeah, and 20 years is a very short time. I still will be publishing books, and you still will be writing books.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there still have bookstores. But the problem now that we're facing is how to defend bookstores, or how to help bookstores to adapt to this new world. Because we can't see bookstores dying. Bookstores, for me, are like temples. You go there, you talk to the bookseller, you see your books. If you don't see your books, you ask, why my book's not here? You know? So you do things like this. So the problem is not to try to stop time, because time is not going to stop. So, but why people are so reluctant to adapt themselves?
Why do people come here to Frankfurt? Now, it started again here in 1949, so it's 66 years now, 66 book fairs. And it's been growing every year. It's 300,000 people coming here in 5 days because they want to do what? They want to talk to each other. They want to exchange ideas. They want to be recognized in the world of authors and publishing. And this is not happening digital. No. So we are adapting to new technologies. We are going to use the new technologies, but we still have our needs. And these needs are actually that the 2 of us are sitting here. And actually the funny thing is, last time I talked to Paulo, I was in Brasilia on a mobile phone, and you were in Geneva. Yeah, and it should have been the other way around, but that's the way it is. So we use this technology, yeah. But the only thing we were talking about meeting each other and finding out when would be the right time for the 2 of us to meet.
This will be forever. We need this eye contact. So most of the deals, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the first time that I came here in Frankfurt, it was 1994, there was always the book of the fair or some tips and some buzz, blah, blah, blah. And today we arrive here, but all the deals are already made by electronically. But still, I need to look at you and say, hello, you are my first publisher. Paulo was my first publisher here. You are my first publisher. Glad to see you. This is my tribe. 1, 2. we have today a publishing house that it is specialized in Japanese gardens of the 13th century. And next door you have the other that it is comics on, I don't know, fetish, sexual fetish. You don't exercise any type of sense.
Everything exists.
But you don't exercise censorship here.
No.
Okay.
But you want me to introduce you to this publisher? Or?
No. But then you have a third publishing house that is, that her catalog is dictionaries. So, people who love sexual fetish in cartoons, they are going to trade with this. And then, or dictionaries or whatever. And then you have the fourth publishing house, that it is a gigantic publishing house that is devouring all the small publishing houses. But then they arrive in this, let's talk, Japanese Garden publishing house. They don't understand the language, but they will still exist. So they say, why do I need you? I know everybody who discusses Japanese gardens of the 17th century or 16th century. And the only thing that you have to offer me is distribution. In my case, distribution is nothing because I can mail to my 3,000 customers and I can make a living out of it.
Earlier this week, I had a meeting with some of the most prominent publishers worldwide, and actually everybody agreed that distribution is still king. Yeah, it's not only the digital thing, but sending out a physical copy, and you have to reach people with a physical copy. You have to be in the bookstore because you want to be discovered in this bookstore.
Yeah.
And most of the time you would need some help. And it's not only Facebook and social media, actually, which will give you an advice on what to read, but because you want to trust somebody, and you don't want to trust an algorithm. So what I'm thinking, I think you're right, we have to adapt, but on the other side, we're always going to stay the same. We will only trust each other when we can look in each other's eyes.
Absolutely.
But when we agree on both things can be possible, but adaptation means, does your writing change somehow? Did it develop? Did it change? Or will your writing become maybe one day interactive as a hypertext?
No, not
really
interactive, no. Writing is like making love. You cannot make love. You can if you have some exotic ideas, but normally you make love with your partner and nobody is watching you, right? So it is me and my computer. So I can't write.
How did you start writing? There were no computers when you started.
When I started...
typewriter or...
Electric
with
typewriter. Yeah.
Pen, okay.
Yeah. So because I write very fast, I cannot handwrite because my thought is faster than my hand. So I have always to type. And what I changed was basically a few things between the computer and the electric typewriting. But back to your question. I don't know. There are many answers. What I know is that we're living a unique moment that I see some bad signs. For example, fixed price. Let me develop. Let me elaborate. You can fix the price and not allow discount. France does this for ages. Huh?
So does Germany.
And Germany, I know. But these were the days before something called BitTorrent. Have you heard about BitTorrent?
I've heard about it.
Okay, so...
In this world, still.
Okay, so this was the day before we called piracy. You can try to say, okay, this is, it's like this. But the so-called pirates, they are going to get it for free. But if you offer them something that they can afford, they are going to buy. They are going to buy. So you see these changes in models like Netflix, for example. Hollywood was dying, and then the series started, and then movie by demand started. You can see now book, you can rent a book, right? Like a script.
Yeah, flat rate.
Yeah, so, and then what you have to do is to find a way in between the traditional system that if it remains like it is. I'm not being pessimistic here, I'm being realistic. I tell you a very concrete story. Shall I? Yes. When my agent, who is sitting there, she only represents me, she went to Russia. And I was nobody in Russia. Nobody. Paulo Coelho. Who? This Brazilian writer? What you know? But I always had the most important promotion in this planet that is called word of mouth. Nothing can substitute word of mouth. So, not internet, nothing. Huh? So, I sold, she managed to sell the rights of one of my books, The Alchemist, I guess, to one publishing house. That was a Ukrainian publishing house. And we were very happy, and this was in 1999. And then in 2000, there was shortage of paper. You did not have paper to print books. And I said, oh my God, now that I'm being published in Russia, they don't have paper. This is ridiculous, because The Alchemist at that moment have sold around 10,000 copies. Then in 1999, I said, okay, if I sold 10,000 copies and we don't have paper anymore, and then by chance, Juergen, totally by chance, I found something, a pirate edition of The Alchemist. I said,
On paper.
no,
Digital.
in internet. Huh? Oh my God, they have a pirate edition here. Good, we don't have paper, but I have a pirate edition. So I'm going to promote this pirate edition. I'm going to post in my web page. We used to have web pages, something that we still have, but they are not important anymore. So I posted in my page. I explained the whole story and I posted it. I did not know if the translation was good, nothing. Huh? So in 2000, they had paper again, and I have sold 100,000 copies. In 2001, I jumped to 1 million copies. And then in 2006, I decided to take a train from Moscow to Vladivostok, the Trans-Siberian. Huh? And I was really in the deep Russia. And many people told me, oh, my first contact with our work was this, well, they did not say pirate edition, they said, we had this edition, this printed edition that it was not even a book.
So, what Paulo's saying, there are many possibilities actually to explore the way of the book from the author to the reader. You can influence the price, yeah? You can actually tease the people by giving things for free even, yeah? Which will come back to you because people still want to know more about you, about your stories. So there are many things you can do. And actually we have to come an end. How do we come to an end now?
There is a golden rule before I go to the end.
No, you've been challenging me.
Don't be greedy. Golden rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we started off and Paulo was saying, I never was in it for the money. I wasn't in it for the business. Yeah. I was in it because I'm a writer. And I wanted to be read. But actually, if nobody would have read me, it would have been fine as well, because you needed to read, to write at that point of time. That's what I understand. So to come to an end now here, because I was told that we should stop now. Paulo, I had my questions. I didn't ask maybe one or two. You had some answers. Maybe you just give me one more answer to a question I never asked.
Yeah.
And that's it for today.
So I'd like to thank you, Juergen.
That's not an answer. Come on.
No. Shall I answer something that you did not ask? That is Salvador Dali in its pure form.
Okay.
The answer is the following. I wrote a book called The Manuscript Found in Accra. That it was, I have two flops. I have to tell you. Two. I have The Fifth Mountain, and I have The Winner Stands Alone. But still, all my publishers that are here, they never left me. They never let me down. So the answer is, I wrote this book, and every sentence of this book is a story. The book did not sell as well as Adultery. But in 20 years from now, when the attention span, because something that we cannot talk today, the attention span is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So in 20 years from now, I believe that Manuscript Found in Accra, that was medium, will be a book that will sell lots. Like someone wrote a book similar before, that it is Khalil Gibran, the prophet. So it will be like this.
Now we have our answer. There will be different books. They will be a lot shorter. Every sentence will be its own story. And you're going to reach us with these stories. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.